chain management's virtual classroom on understanding careers in supply chain, what are our prospects, and also giving you a brief introduction to one more area of supply chain. Most of you have already chosen to be either part of the supply chain domain, or you're thinking about joining the supply chain function of some organization. And today, when you look at most of the news articles, one of the things that is most often talked about is the supply chain and how the supply chains have to become better, stronger, resilient because of the problems that we have faced over the last 3 months. This is a time when the Institute of Supply Chain Management, we are a Mumbai-based organization. We are into education. In education, we have a 11-month program called the Executive Program in Supply Chain Management. This is for people who have 2 to 3 years of experience and want to go ahead in supply chain management as a career. Then we have certification program. These are short-term programs. Typically, we'll be able to do a certification in a month and a half kind of scenario. 6 weeks is what we look at a certification being done. So we have the certified supply certification in supply chain management, which is the CSCM. We have a certified demand planning and forecasting professional, which is a niche area within supply chain. We will see it in one of those days. So we have a certification program for that. We have a certified supply chain leader for senior members within the supply chain who have 7 to 8 years of domain experience. We have certified integrated business planning leader, again for those people within the integrated business planning community. And we have launched a new program called R4, which is for mid to senior level people who want to understand how to restructure supply chains going forward, because what has happened now has disrupted the way we do business. What else do? We do master classes. Master classes are nothing else but short duration training programs, 2 days, 1 day training program, 2 day training program, which we periodically announce. You can see some of the master class pictures down below. We do a lot of in-company training. We customize curriculum for companies. So if any of your companies need structured training, we can do that. Nowadays, we offer this as a virtual classroom with programs often on our integrated. Apart from that, we do research in multiple areas of supply chain management, consulting. We also have mentoring where we handhold senior members and of the supply chain community and take them ahead. We have a couple of other offerings. Essentially, we have SCM Pro Knowledge, which is a portal for gaining industry knowledge. We will come to that towards the end of this presentation, and we also do events. Now, to make it a little bit more interesting, what I have is that I have a poll here, and I would like to launch a poll. I would like you to take a small response to a question which I have. The question which I have is, we have 2 types of courses, short-term courses and long-term courses. The long-term course is the executive program in supply chain management, and short-term programs are the certification programs. The question is, which one would you prefer? Would you want the long-term or the short-term? It would be nice if you could interact, so that will make it a little bit more interesting for us. Interesting. Request you to register your preferences. Keep it coming. Yes. Very good. This is for those who are joined in new. This is a poll about what kind of courses would you like, short-term or long-term. Yes. Thank you very much. 85% of you have said that you would prefer a short-term course, which is very interesting. So what essentially we are talking about today are what is ISCM's offering in these areas, and why should you look at an institute like the Institute of Supply Chain Management? First and foremost is that the Institute of Supply Chain Management has got a very interesting mix of people on its advisory council. We have Dr. John Gatorna, who is an internationally well-known academician and thought leader and consultant in the area of supply chain management. We have Dr. Mahinder Singh, who is a former executive director of MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. They had a supply chain lab. He was the executive director there. He was also the CEO of Malaysia Institute of Supply Chain Management. These are two stalwarts from the academic field, and we have Mr. Kalpesh Pathak, who is a vice president at Fiat Chrysler Automobiles, and Dr. Rakesh Sinha, who is currently CEO of Reflexive Supply Chain Solutions, but earlier he was with Godrej as the CEO. We have Dr. Rakesh, who is the chair of the Institute of Management, who is a contributor to multiple forums within the supply chain domain. So we have a very strong advisory council, a mix of both industry and academia, which is bringing in that flavor of what is it. And we have a very good panel of mentors or faculty whom we draw from the industry. We have this is available on our website also. You could please look at it. We also would urge you to strongly visit our website, www.iscmindia.com, where you can see not only our courses but also the way we teach. One of the interesting things that you would like to know here is that as the Institute of Supply Chain Management, we focus on a different pedagogy. We believe that we are in an area of application of knowledge, and therefore instead of focusing on giving you the gyan about it, we drive our entire pedagogy through case studies, so that at the end of the day you get a kind of flavor of what is the kind of decisions you need to make when you're getting into your supply chain domain. That is a kind of focus that we give when we go for our training. I would now launch a smaller poll. I would like you to respond to that also, if you do not mind. It's a very simple poll which asks you, how important is certification for you in your career? Today we are at a time when the world is looking at people who are already in the know of things. So if you could just indicate, should take you not more than 30 seconds to do this. Thank you very much. That's very interesting. 38% of you found very important, and 50% says that it is important. Yes, going forward, we will see increasingly people are looking at certifications, are looking at people who have prior knowledge of the domain before they are hired. Gone are the times when the companies would have recruited you and then said, we will teach you. Now they expect you to come with the knowledge, and not just knowledge in one narrow area, but across functions, so that you can be deployed flexibly based on what the companies need. And that is what we also drive, and that is what we are trying to give you an overview in this 101 series. We started with supply chain as a whole. We looked at various subsections within it. Today we are going to deep dive into one more subsection of it, which is nothing else but inventory management. Today's session is on inventory management. Some of the important dates for you. What we are also doing is that most of these programs are available to you as classroom sessions. As I told you, R4 is a session where we teach you, or we discuss and deliberate on how do we, as we come out of the current crisis, how do we restructure and reimagine our supply chains so that we can make them much better going forward. The last date of admission is in July. The start date is in 4th of July. So if anyone of you are interested and any of your bosses would be interested, request them to have a look at our website. And we will also be sharing some information after this session. We will mail them to you. The executive program in supply chain management, which is a long-term program, starts on 19th of July. The last date of admission is 15th of July. And the short-term program, which is a certified supply chain manager, starts on the 10th of July. And the demand planning and forecasting starts on the 27th of July. So these are the dates that you could look at. These are some of our customers who have already signed on to us. And now for the final poll that I would have before I start my session today on inventory management. What is the area that you're looking for if you're looking at a certification? Is it going to be demand planning, supply chain, warehousing, logistics? Request you to keep coming. I thank you very much for voting and being participative. Thank you very much. Now, what we're going to do is that there are certain things that I would like to tell you before we start this session. The first thing is that I would request you all to keep your questions coming. As we are discussing, if there are any questions, please do raise them. But only one small request, please keep the questions relevant to what we are discussing. For example, today's session is on inventory management. Please keep the questions relevant to inventory management. The other questions we can take up subsequently whenever we come up with a topic. So, and whenever you have a problem, request you to kindly come up and ask your question. There is no question which is big or there's no question which is bad. It's all questions are welcome. If you have any doubt in any of these areas, request you to kindly ask your questions through the chat, the question box that we have here. On your screen, on that panel on the side, you will have something called as questions. Request you to type in the questions only in the question box, not anywhere else. There's a chat option, but only do it on the question box, because then I will be able to see it and I will be able to answer it for you. There are some questions who have asked. We will share the presentation at the end of the session. You will have a link to this video also. We will send you the link. So let's start the sessions today. Again, my name is Girish. I'm the director of the Institute of Supply Chain Management. I look after the training, and I'm a faculty also in the area of supply chain management. You will have seen two names of ours in the institute. One is Dr. Rakesh Singh, who's the chairman of the institute, and me, the second is me, Girish. Both of us are faculty at the institute. So let's start the today's session on understanding why do we need inventory? Yeah, we'll have a small chat on inventory, and I'll keep answering those questions as and when you ask them, as long as they're relevant to inventory. What is inventory management? Let's look at it. Most companies produce products. So they buy raw material, they bring it to their factory, they produce something, and at the end of it, the raw material is converted into a finished product, and then they distribute it till it reaches the shop or the final customer. So this whole process has got many problems within it. For example, if we look at the function of production, when I start producing goods, I need the raw material to come in a steady supply, and if there is any problem there, then I lose production. So in order to have a position where I do not have a production loss, I need to keep some inventory close at hand so that I can continue my operation. Similarly, finished goods, we will need to have enough of finished goods, and if we do not have them, when there is a demand increase, we might not be able to meet the demand and we will lose sales. So inventory is nothing else but a buffer which is enabling companies to manage the demand and supply. There is demand on one side, there is supply on the other side. The supply or the ability of a company to manufacture a product is limited. You have a production capacity. The production capacity also has batches, so there is a limit to the batch capacity. The demand, on the other hand, can be varying. It is not dependent upon the way how much you can produce. It is independent of how much you can produce. So what happens is that you need to produce enough to meet the demand whenever there is a demand, which is why we keep inventory as a buffer between the two. Now let us look at what happens. There are three scenarios which any company could face. Either they buy too much of material, in which case you see what will happen on the top of the picture. You buy more material, which means you have excess of inventory. If you buy too much of inventory, what could happen in terms, if it is a product like a mobile phone or components for a mobile phone, obsolescence is a very high issue. Or if it is a product which has got a short shelf life, it will expire. So obsolescence becomes an issue. And therefore, you have put in money to store this material where you have high cost. And with this high cost, your profitability is low, therefore you become financially low margin. If on the other hand, you do not buy enough products, you will have stockouts, you will lose sales, which means you are again losing your margin. The aim of a company is to have the right amount of inventory so that when the customer comes for the product, it is available. At the same time, the company does not stock too much of it so that we have an overstocking kind of situation. Let me see if there are any questions on this. There was a question which was asked, how is it possible to manage effectively? For many companies, inventory management, we are all. Yes, the question was asked by Koshi, how this is possible to manage it effectively. Inventory management is where all the problems and benefits to industry are, to make it competitive. Koshi, you are correct. That is where inventory management as a science has come off. Though inventory management per se was quite old, it started off somewhere in 1916, but we have evolved since then. Today we have inventory management models which will help us determine what is the amount of stock that we need to hold with a particular degree of confidence, so that we can cover, let's say, 90% of the demand, or 95% of the demand, or 99% of the demand. Today it is possible to do that. That is where the course on inventory management will give you insights on how do you do this whole process, how do you manage this so that it is beneficial to the company. And for doing this, yes, we will need technology. Yeah, we will see how we can manage inventory going forward. So essentially, why do we use inventory? We use inventory for two things. One is to meet anticipated demand. So I have an excess demand. I think I will need more. And there's also one compounding factor that you will know in India is the busy season and the lean season. 40% of the company's sales happen in the busy season, which is from August onwards, the festival season, and 60% during the lean season. Therefore, 3 to 4 months is what your majority sales happen. But your production has to be for 12 months. So you need to produce for 12 months so that you can sell maximum during that busy season. So you need some kind of inventory to meet your requirement. The second function of inventory is to smoothen the production requirement. I need to keep my production system running. I need to keep raw materials to keep coming, producing, completed to finished goods and taken to the customer. Essentially what inventory management does is it decouples your operations. It makes it possible for you to manufacture and store so that your manufacturing is not tied to demand. For example, it does not mean today suddenly I need hand sanitizers, so I will start producing hand sanitizers only when the demand happens. My capacity to produce may not be enough for me to meet the requirements that are there in the demand. So my inventory will help me. If I have built enough of stock, then that stock can be used during times of high demand. Now, this is again a commonly cited example. Gulf countries most often import most of their requirements, and since there are long lead times, they have a 3-month kind of inventory on hand. And because they had a 3-month kind of inventory, even with a 1-month disruption in the supply chain, their inventories and the stocks available were adequate for them to meet the demand. It comes at a huge cost. You have to keep that much amount of money tied in. It is not so efficient a use of capital, but yes, it did save on loss of sale. It did not allow loss of sale to happen. And therefore, we look at it, and normally when we look at it, we classify inventory in multiple ways. We call it as one inventory is called as pipeline inventory or transit inventory, which is essentially on a truck or on a ship or on a rail car, which is moving towards you. That becomes a pipeline inventory. Sometimes what happens is that this is more often seen with dealers. When a dealer has some amount of products, he will sometimes the company will announce a price hike. If you announce a price hike, then some people want to buy the product before the price hike comes into effect. That becomes a speculative inventory. Then we have the regular inventory, which is used by us mostly to plan for products and hold it together. Regular inventory is nothing else but based on I have a production plan which I have in the beginning of the year. Based on the production plan, I will also want to, based on the production plan, I will buy raw material and keep it and produce it, and based on that, I will buy materials. I will keep some raw materials stored. I'll keep some finished goods stored. These are this is based on the product, the forecast which I have. I will keep those regular or cyclical inventory, which is my normal operating. For example, if I have a demand of 100 tons of soap in a month, in my places, I will keep 100 tons so that I can easily meet that demand. That becomes my normal. I have a safety on top of this. For example, in busy season, my soap sales might increase to 150 tons. So I need an extra 50 tons, which I will need to keep in case there should be a sudden spike in demand. So that becomes my safety. It is kept in anticipation that there will be an increase in demand. It is not necessary that there is a increase in demand to that extent. It is kept so that I don't lose out on sales. The only problem here is that sales as a department does not want to lose anything, so they would want any demand to be met. But the supply chain community, the supply chain department has to ensure that the cost of holding that inventory is not very high. And then we have dead stock or stock which is not moving. which is the worst kind of inventory that you can have. A dead stock is a problem stock, and therefore most often they will have to be written off. You can see this more often in things like fashion industry, where, for example, whatever you make for this season, if it is not sold, the chances of it getting sold later on are very, very less. What happens to it? Then you will have to sell it at a very deep discount. You'll have to give it at a very deep discount. Most often you would not even recover the cost that you have invested in it. So, but to cut loss, you might want to do it, which is why you see a lot of this online deep discount happening, which is essentially goods which have not sold being pushed out into the market as a dead stock to clear it. So what are the types of inventory that we can have? We have raw materials, we have components, for example, your ICs, integrated circuit, printed circuit boards, etc. These are my raw material inventory. Then I have this forms my raw material, which comes in for production. Then during production, I have some inventory which is called work in progress. And after that, I have finished good inventory. Finished good inventory, it will either lie at my factory, or it will be at my warehouse, or it would be in the pipeline going towards my shop, which becomes my distribution inventory. And one last type of inventory which most people do not look at is the maintenance, repair, and operating supplies, which are essentially your spare parts. You need to have them. Without it, if there's a sudden breakdown in your machine, you will find that you cannot run the system. So you'll have some kind of spares available with you, but you will not look at the MROs or the spare part inventory in terms of the amount invested in it, but the loss that you will face if the machine is not available for you when you want it. Let me see if there are any questions now. Give me a moment. In spite of all these systems, why many companies have inventory management issues and lot of revenue loss? Again, Koshi. Koshi, the problem with inventory is that it is not so simple, a single line kind of a thing. The problem with inventory is that inventory is an anticipation of a demand, and the demand is external to the company. The company is not sure what the demand can be at any point in time. If your intelligence is, if the market intelligence and the demand sensing is not adequate, and it is not proper enough and not from as close to the consumer as possible, there will be issues where you will either undershoot or overshoot your requirements of inventory. And also, we also get into this habit of panic buying, which we saw in even as individuals, there was a lot of panic buying when the lockdowns were announced. We went in and bought whatever we could at whatever price and stored it. This is there in corporates also. There will be panic buying which will lead you into high inventory. Therefore, there are a lot of issues connected with inventory which are not just the theory part of it. A lot of behavioral issues are also connected there. We will need to do all that. Mohammed Taleb has asked a question. Can you please give another example of decoupling operation as a result of inventory? Essentially, Mohammed, what does decoupling mean? Decoupling means able to separate. Now, I have three components in any operation. I have my raw materials, I have my production, and I have my finished good distribution. One way of decoupling it is my raw material which come in. For example, if I am a fruit juice manufacturer, my raw material is available during a very short period of time, which is essentially my season of raw material being available, right? And therefore, my inventory decouples my raw material from my production process. If I buy enough of raw material and keep, my production will be able to run for a longer time. So that is one way in which my production is decoupled from my raw material supply. The other one would be in terms of demand. I am not sure what the demand for a particular product at any particular point of time is going to be very definitely. Therefore, I will keep some stocks so that whenever there is a spike, I don't have to run back to the factory and say, produce this much more, produce that much more. The factory will produce in a way it will keep the batch most economical. So they come up with an economical batch size which they run, while the sales happen at different cycles. So therefore, the inventory will help you to decouple your production process from your sales process. Same way, inventory will help you decouple your procurement from your production process. These are the ways in which you would do the decoupling. I hope I have answered it. Yeah. Let's go forward. Now, where is technology in this whole process? So we only looked at a very broad understanding of what inventory is. We looked at inventory saying that it is something that is required for us to maintain either as raw material or finished goods, so that whenever there is a demand surge or there is a problem with raw material, our production can continue and we can ensure supplies to the end user. That is the reason we have kept inventory. And when we start looking at inventory, it is not as simple as buy more and keep. The more we buy, remember, when you buy, you have to pay your supplier, which means you're committing money to pay your supplier. That is, you're tying up cash as inventory. The moment you borrow and keep inventory on your shelf, that is cash sitting on your shelf. And anyone who is in business understands that cash is best when it is rotating or when it is moving. Cash sitting is always a drain on your profitability. Therefore, you want to minimize inventory to reduce the cost of holding that inventory or cost of buying that inventory and keeping it, or even the finished good inventory. You have bought the raw material, you have done the processing, and then now it is sitting on a shelf. You're not sure if it will sell or not. If it doesn't sell, then it has to be discounted and sold. So there are issues there also. These are the two areas where cost becomes a very high challenge to inventory. At the same time, if you talk to the marketing, they will want very high inventory primarily. Why? Because if there is more inventory, whenever there is an increase in sale, I will be able to deliver. So marketing looks at it only from the delivery perspective. While you need to look at it from the delivery perspective, you also need to look at it from the cost perspective, because ultimately the cost of holding that inventory is a part of the supply chain cost, and sometimes inventory cost can be up to 25% of the total cost. So you have to be very conscious of inventory as a cost element in your balance sheet. In fact, even when your banks are trying to figure out whether they should give you a loan or not, they will first look at how your inventory is building up. If you keep building up inventory, then your bank will say you're not selling enough, you're just buying and keeping stock. Why do you need so much of money? So there's a tremendous amount of pressure on people to reduce inventory. And with the result, what happened? Because of this pressure on reducing the cost of inventory, a lot of companies move to something called as just-in-time. Just-in-time is just as you need to manufacture it, it reaches the point of manufacturing. That also created problems in this lockdown scenario when your supplier cannot deliver the material to you. The supplier might have it in his stock, but it is not reaching you. So you again have a problem there. Jayesh Patak has asked a question: what should be the normal percentage of holding inventory? Jayesh, there is no normal percentage. It is all depending upon the company, the season, and the demand for the product. Normally, what you will say is that you will define a scenario saying that at least 90% of my demand should be met. I should hold enough stock to meet 90% of demand or 95% of the demand. Based on that, you will come up with a you'll come up with a number which is for managing inventory. Umar Tariq has asked, what are the factors that come into calculating economic feasibility of having or not having a warehouse? Umar, this is something that we will take up when we do warehousing. We have a session on warehousing which is coming up. We will take this when we are doing the warehousing as a function. There is also a question by Abhay upon how do we plan for uncertainty. There is a session on planning. We will take up this question during the planning session. So when we look at inventory, there are a lot of where is technology coming into inventory management? Technology is coming essentially from the physical for physical verification of where a product is lying. For example, today people are using drones within their warehouse to take a count of the inventory which is inside the warehouse. There are also RFID devices which are now coming, which will let you know where a particular inventory is kept or stored within a warehouse. There are also handheld scanners which you can use to navigate yourself and figure out where products are. Today, technology is at a stage where it can help you understand where your products are. Remember, one of the things that is in inventory is that as you keep inventory, as fresh inventory comes in, the inventory that is older has to be removed from your system first. Otherwise, only the fresh goods will get sold. The older inventory will become obsolete and nobody will buy it. So you have to ensure that you move your inventory in such a way that you do not have any dead inventory lying at any point in time. You keep moving them out, and when the fresh ones comes, they keep pushing the older ones out into the consumer's hands, and then keep your pipeline moving. That's something that you need to take care of. So what is the future of inventory management that we are talking about? Today, inventory management in most companies is done basis. We have some systems where we know that how much we have purchased, how much we have sold. The difference between what was made and what was sold is your finished good inventory, and the difference between what was purchased and what was used is your raw material inventory. So you've got two inventories which you can easily find out. So I'll say, okay, I bought 100 tons of material, I processed 30 tons, which is 70 tons is lying with me. Or I will say I manufactured 10,000 pieces of this garment, I have sold 8,000 pieces, 2,000 pieces is my inventory. These are the ways in which we reckon how much is inventory. But the problem here is inventory might be there, but it might not be located so easily within your storage area. The place where you store inventory is usually your warehouse. So inventory which is not visible is also a major problem, and that can create huge losses and obsolescence down the line. So today a lot of technology is coming to identify and understand where is this hidden inventory, where is this inventory lying, so that I can use that inventory and push it out faster. Locate and see that I use it and not let it go obsolete. So we have RFID tags, radio frequency identification devices. These are small tags which are attached to components, which will let us know what, and with a scanner we can keep looking at where these tags, where these products are. I told you Amazon is looking at drones for looking at where the counting the inventory, because I need to take a physical count. In the olden days, what used to happen was that my system tells me that I must be having 2,000 units of a particular shirt in stock. But when I go and actually physically count it, I might find only 1,800. 200 is missing. Now, 200 is not missing because it was robbed, but 200 is missing because it was kept in some other location. That inventory is lying somewhere. I need to identify where it is lying. So we will need some kind of technology to gather this information. That is where technology in one part of the inventory management is going. The other side where technology is coming in is in case of algorithms that we are preparing. Essentially, someone asked me, how do we know how much of inventory to keep? This is where the algorithms are going to come in a big way. We are going to see that a lot of, and in fact, when you go for your program on supply chain certification, we have a module where we will teach you how these modern inventory methodologies can be used in managing your inventory. For example, what kind of algorithms can be created? How do you look at these algorithms? What is the way by which you calculate how much of stock should you have? and not only how much of stock you have, in what location in the network do you need to have these stocks. So those algorithms, now these are all the domain of coding and algorithm which are coming up. Then we have new areas coming up like APIs or application programming interfaces, which is nothing else. Today, thanks to technology, we have this is specifically applicable in things like higher value added items. You can have devices which can keep telling you their position, their life, how long they have been on the shelf and all that. So when they have these, this is essentially a part of your Internet of Things domain. So when Internet of Things come in, you will be able to ascertain, sitting at a central console across your entire network, what is the current state of each product, finished product that you have on your desk, how old is it, how much days left to expiry, do I need to call back, do I need to give a promotion? So you will start thinking of these because data exchange happens automatically. Enterprise resource planning is still here because most organizations still have to use enterprise resource planning to the full extent that they are capable of. And then a bigger way where technology will come in is in the terms of exchange of information and making sense of this information. We will have things like big data and analytics coming in, which will let us look at our entire range of information on our past consumption, our past buying behavior, the way in which we have kept inventories, the way in which we have written off inventories, the way in which we have lost inventories, and then try and make sense and say, is this the way to go ahead? So what else can we do? So we have a lot of analytics that will now come in. In fact, if you will, our course on supply chain management, the module on inventory management focuses on these issues. It gives you also how do I calculate something called as economic basic calculation. Now we use the economic order quantity to build concepts of how do you look at this concept of order and quantity, and what are the parameters which you will need to measure, and therefore bring in those elements of cost of the inventory again into calculation. So these are some of the things that we will be teaching you as you go about your supply chain certification. There's a question by Chiradeep Roy who says, how do we go about the maintenance cost for the inventory stock? Chiradeep, that is a sunk cost. That's a total loss for you if you have to maintain something in inventory. I hope I'm getting a question correct. If you have to spend money to maintain the product which is sitting in as inventory, you're in a very, very serious situation. The best option for you is to then probably give a discount and push it out of your hands, because otherwise you'll keep spending money and an old product doesn't nearly really sell well. Is there any attendance to be filled? No, there is no attendance. We have your email IDs and telephone numbers. That's good enough for us. We will send you all the details. Kubulai Kundu has also asked, do you give placement support? We give placement support for our long-term project, long-term education. For example, if you join the EPSCM and you're paying for the course, we definitely will provide you placement assistance, where we will, basis what you want to do and where you want to work, we will open doors for you. However, landing the job and negotiating for salary is more under your control, which you should have to do. Yeah. So today, when we look at the science of inventory is changing. The old product, the old inventory methodology, which is essentially looking at it as a buffer between production and sales or raw material inventory, is now changing into making it a more holistic link in the whole chain, which says that across the chain I need to have inventory, and I need to have visibility of this inventory across the chain, and I need to plan taking into account all that is there in my pipeline and the expected change in demand when the customers when the customers requirements change. So these are some of the things that we are going to look at when we look at our courses, when we deep dive into our courses, what I have given you essentially is a very high level look at why do we keep inventory, what are the major challenges in inventory. As I told you, cost is a challenge, obsolescence is a challenge, sometimes write-offs, because it doesn't move well, you will have to do a deep discount and sell it. That becomes a challenge, which is a hit on your margin. And if you don't have adequate inventory, you also will lose sales. That also is a challenge. So you need to manage the cost of lost sales versus the cost of inventory sitting idle. And that balance, how to reach that balance, is what the science of inventory is all about. And that is what we teach you in our CSC, in our courses. How do I balance it? Are there any more questions? Because we have come to the end of the session. Which tool package available in the, there's a question by Bharadwaj who asked which tool or package available in the market provides optimal inventory management. See, there is nothing like a software which can do things. This is something that I need you to understand. It is not the software which is good, but it is the people who are sitting behind and the integrity of the data which decides if your inventory management system can be productive or not. I have seen people manage inventory with an Excel sheet. I have seen them do it with the most expensive inventory management systems. So everything will do what is basic. At the end of the day, you need to figure out what are the data points you have, what is the organization culture you have for technology, and then choose a solution based on these two. Most solution will meet your requirements. Mukesh Goyal, top 3 ideas to reduce inventory. Mukesh, that's a very dangerous kind of way to approach inventory. The first aspect to reduce inventory is to have a realistic expectation of what part of the demand do you want to serve. You remember, you cannot meet 100% of the demand at all points in time. Let us say you were selling 30 units of a particular product in a month. And you expect that demand probably to go up to 40. So you have a reasonable degree of confidence, 95% confident that you will reach, you may go up to 40. But is there a chance that it can go up to 100? Of course there is a chance. Therefore, can you say that I need to be prepared for that 100, which means I have to stock 70 extra? Which is a huge cost. What if it doesn't happen? So there is this reasonableness which you will need to say. What is the reasonableness with which what part of the demand I need to cater to? One. Second, how good are my collaborations with my raw material suppliers? Are they able to give me raw material at short notice if it is possible, though not possible with seasonal inventory, seasonal products like fruit, etc. But if you have close collaboration with your ecosystem, you will be able to pull in inventory as and when you need them, if you have treated your suppliers really well. So one side, understand the market, others demand for the product in the market, and therefore how much needs to be sold. And third, you need to be also open to the case of having a central inventory which you can move at quick short notice to your for example, a company like Hindustan Lever would probably have 50 warehouses all across the country. Do I hold inventory of all materials at all the 50 warehouses, or do I say I will only hold fast moving inventory in these warehouses, and the slow moving inventory I will keep it centrally at 1 or 2 warehouses, and whenever there is a requirement I will push it from that warehouse to the, so my slow moving items become centrally stored, my inventory reduces, while my fast moving items will be distributed across, and that can keep moving very fast. So this is again something that you will do. You will need to classify your inventory. There are multiple ways in which you will classify your inventory. You can do that. There is a question by Chiradeep Roy, with the due respect to the certification from IF, please clarify the importance and credibility of the SCM certification from Chiradeep. I definitely would not want to Okay, it's like this. There are a number of bodies offering certifications in supply chain. There is APICS, which is in the US. There is CII, which is in India, and there is Institute of Supply Chain Management, whom I represent. All of these are credible certifications. All of them look at one particular aspect or one way of doing it things. What you need to figure out is, how is it that I am going to use this? Is this course going to let me develop the core aspect of judgment, which is what is there in any corporate life? In all corporate life, what is most crucial is judgment. The judgment of whether, with the amount of data available to you, can I take a call on a situation and will it be a good call? That is what you have to do. You have to ask yourself, does the course I am joining help me do that? For example, if I were to give you a lot of theory, it will not help develop your judgment. It will help you become good in facts. If I were to test you using a multiple choice question, it will not help you develop your judgment, reasoning ability. It will test your memory. I can only answer for myself. The way we have gone about designing the course is to look at it in terms of what is relevant today, and therefore my curriculum changes almost on a 6-monthly or 3-monthly basis. So we keep updating this curriculum to be always relevant, and most important, we believe that these curriculum should help you develop a framework by which you are going to understand what is the importance of supply chain management, how do you bring yourself into the whole picture, and what are the kind of decisions you need to take. So ours is more a decision oriented way of dealing with supply chain, while I would not want to comment about that, because I also have seen what you have seen from APICS or CII. I didn't want to comment on that. I know what we are doing. We drive it through a lot of case studies and situation analysis. Our readings are therefore a lot more wider and more contemporary. That's where you need to look at it. All courses that way have their own reputation and their own credibility. It is not the credibility of the course, it is how will it develop what you want to achieve. Will it make you a good supply chain professional? This is what you need to evaluate. Okay. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for having spent around, yes, I am over by around 10 minutes. I took a couple of questions, especially from the Sujay. We don't have any branches. We are only in Mumbai, but that should not be an issue, because all our courses are on virtual platform, online platform. You can do the same courses online as you're doing it now. And these are with direct faculty involvement. We will do it through case studies on a virtual platform. So you should be able to do that. I thank you, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, for attending this course. I hope it has been useful to you. We have your database, your data with us. We will keep coming back to you with what we are doing. We expect to hear from you. We'll also request you to strongly look at our certification courses and our long-term courses, which are starting off in next month. We have it on 4th July. We have R4. We have 10th July CSCM. Then we have EPSCM, and then we have CDPFP. All courses are starting next. Dhanesh, whoever has registered and attended will be getting the link to the recording, so you will be getting it. And Arun Kumar, no, we do not have any doctorate courses. We are a private institute. We are mostly industry-related courses. We are very close to the industry. You will see our advisory board also has got industry people, senior industry people there, and our faculty is also a lot from the industry. And therefore, we do not have any. A doctoral course is only offered by a university, cannot be offered by an institute like us. Yeah. Thank you very much. Please stay in touch. Also, please visit our websites. Let me also tell you there's a website of ours called scmpro-knowledge.in. Please visit the scmpro-knowledge.in site where we have all articles on supply chain management. Feel free, browse, look at it, learn from it. And also we have SCM Pro forums, which is our event in the wing. Look at the event wing also. We keep having webinars on various issues within supply chain management. We keep coming up with these webinars. Look at those webinars. Participate in those webinars. Participate in all our webinars and initiatives. Let us make supply chain a very vibrant community in India so that we can become a go-to place for supply chain in the world. Thank you very much. Our next 101 series session would be on the next Saturday. I request you all to popularize it as much as possible among your friends, colleagues, and get as many of them as to join in as possible. Thank you very much.